Let's switch topics now and ask you what you think about banning murals with social messages. You've probably seen them pop up all over the place in the last several months. Go ahead and send us a text, 602-444-1212. That's actually happening in Tucson after Mayor Regina Romero says that the city is no longer allowing access to painting murals on city streets. Now, this all started a couple months ago when some volunteer artists painted a Black Lives mural in downtown Tucson, and taxpayers apparently footed the bill for the paint, more than $1,700 worth of paint there. And then a group requested to paint a Thin Blue Line mural outside of the city's police department. The Thin Blue Line, if you're wondering, is a symbol of support for cops, their lives, and the role they play in keeping order on the streets. Now, Mayor Romero stepped in and said, no, you can't paint that there, claiming the request was made by a group with ties to white supremacy. So some are seeing this as hypocrisy, allowing taxpayers to pay for a Black Lives Matter message, but not allowing anyone to paint something in support of Blue Lives Matter, regardless of who pays for it. So now, painting of murals altogether is not allowed. What do you think about that? This is what some of you were saying, weighing in this morning. Wally on Facebook getting in on the action. Street art has been an important reflection of contemporary cultural discourse throughout the history of mankind. You can't change that. Kit Kat says, keeping controversial murals out of the public square is a good idea right now. There's too much violence now, and we don't need more triggers. So saying that they're divisive in general. And Melanie says on Facebook, murals are artistic expressions and freedom of speech. We can agree to disagree and still respect each other's opinions. In a perfect world, wouldn't that be nice? So continue weighing in for us right now. 602-444-1212 is the place to do so.